Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, good afternoon. The legislation before us is a product of our best bipartisan work, responding to the pleas of our constituents who have petitioned their government to help them end the suffering and negative quality of life most of us simply cannot imagine. We have met these families, the moms, the dads, the kids, and we have heard the heartbreaking stories about young, innocent kids experiencing intractable epilepsy with uncontrolled seizures, and we have learned about how the best treatments available to these families have failed. This legislation responds to these stories in a compassionate Iowa way. While only a few hundred Iowans will be directly, personally affected by Senate File 2360, for these Iowans, this legislation could be a matter of life or death. Colleagues, here's what the bill does. It makes it legal for certain Iowans with intractable epilepsy, under the care and recommendation of a neurologist, to obtain a state-issued card by the Iowa Department of Public Health that makes it legal for them to possess a specific medicine, a non-intoxicating cannabis oil, here in the state of Iowa. The bill also allows Iowans who have moved to other states to get their medicine to come home and be able to visit their extended families, their friends, and loved ones without fear of arrest or prosecution. That's what the bill does. That's all the bill does. We still have to go, you will still have to go to another state to get the cannabis oil. But when you return home to Iowa, you can use it without being arrested, without being fined, without being sent to prison, without losing your job, without losing your home, and without losing your children. This legislation before us today is thanks to the work of Iowa parents. The parents of some of these couple of hundred of Iowans that will be directly affected by this legislation. These parents of children with intractable epilepsy, they are parents of children whose seizures are so severe that they may be at risk of dying at any time. In other states, states with medical cannabis laws, cannabis oil has shown to reduce the number of seizures these children have. Reduce the seizures and you reduce the risk of dying. The Selmeski family, formerly an Iowa family, has moved from Iowa to Colorado to help their daughter Maggie, and I think we've all heard about Maggie's story. Thanks to cannabis oil, they have seen a sharp reduction in the number of seizures Maggie currently experiences. Just to be clear, families facing extreme medical challenges have been doctored by the best, have had all the FDA approved and all the FDA non-approved or non-approved drugs. These drugs have severe risks and severe and negative side effects. Non-intoxicating cannabis oil comes with comparably few risks and offers significant benefits. That's why these Iowa parents want access to this medicine, and that's why you should vote yes today on Senate File 2360. I want to say this bill is a bipartisan work. As members know, this is a team sport here in the legislature if you want to be successful. And as we talked in the points the last few days, I think Senator Black made it very clear. The tradition here in the Senate, in the legislature, our best work really does come when we get together in a bipartisan way. And I want to especially thank Senator Snyder for his leadership on this bill. We have worked very hard since the first day of session and extremely hard over the last 5 or 6 weeks on what is a very narrowly focused piece of legislation. But Senator Snyder's been terrific to work with. He's extremely smart and has kept us focused. I really want to thank him. I'd also like to thank Senator Dix. We've talked with you on a number of occasions for advice about this. And in my caucus, Senator McCoy, he used some of his time in commerce to bring speakers, family members, and medical experts. And throughout this, Senator Courtney, Senator Dotzler, and Senator Hatch have been helpful. This effort, though, has been a House and Senate effort. We have engaged over the last half a dozen weeks with Representative Claude Baudler, Representative John Forbes, and Representative Rob Taylor in really a House-Senate bipartisan effort to craft what you have in front of you. We have had a lot of input also from stakeholders in this building. We've obviously heard from the patients, the Iowa Epilepsy Association, the Iowa Medical Society, the Iowa Department of Public Safety. We've heard from our sheriffs and deputies, and we've heard from the governor's office. And through that process, which was a good one, we have accepted almost every suggestion that stakeholders have brought forward to improve this bill. Madam President, that concludes my opening comments. I'm happy to answer any questions on the bill.
Senators, is there further discussion on Senate File 2360? The chair recognizes a senator from Black Hawk, Senator Dotzler.
Thank you, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. Thank you, Senator Bolcom, for your work, and Senator Schneider. I need and feel compelled to get up and further little Maggie Someski's story, because she comes from my area, and I'm keenly aware of what has transpired with her case. Her mother, Rachel, has been in contact with me, and I met her when she traveled back from Colorado to attend the subcommittee, or at least the hearings that were held on this important issue with other mothers. And you need to know a little bit about this story, and I think it's a story that really has brought this bill to us. Little Maggie has infantile spasms, an intractable seizure disorder, labeled as Parkinson's, a type of Parkinson's. And they had tried everything with her. She was on 6 different types of medicine, 4 at once, to try to control her seizures, which were up to 500 a day. 500 a day. And with these seizures, medically we've been listening to physicians, and they say when you have a seizure, your brain afterwards tries to recover, and it goes into a rest period where it doesn't develop at all. It's like sleep in some ways, and with infants, it stops the development. In fact, they call it a developmental regression. So this young Maggie, the infant, didn't develop mentally. Her brain was kind of frozen in time. And in fact, it starts to regress after a time. And after trying all these meds, some of them very, very toxic, they do everything to damage your kidneys, just a whole litany of things. Her mother, Rachel, saw on television a story about some young children who was trying a type of cannabis oil called Charlotte's Web, named after the young girl who had tremendous success on it, and decided that in order to save her child's life, she would move to Colorado. And she was on a waiting list, finally was able to attain it, and magic, I guess I wouldn't say magic, maybe a miracle occurred, because in talking with Rachel, she said that Maggie's seizures had reduced dramatically, and it was at the time I had talked to her, it was more than a third, but that was enough that it would allow young Maggie's brain to start to develop in some ways. Before that, she had no appetite. They almost had to force feed her. She really didn't make any sounds or communicate. And one day in talking to her, Rachel, on the phone, I could hear young Maggie making little noises and sounds. And I said, "Is that her?" And she said, "It is, and it's amazing, the transformation." She said, and this is a quote, "This medicine has unlocked the little girl trapped inside." That now, no, she wasn't cured, but now they had more hope, and they were starting to see the development of this young girl, Maggie. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what this bill is about. Many Iowans can't pack up their whole family and move to Colorado, and the parents are being separated from one spouse or the other because of jobs back here. We're going to give Iowa mothers an opportunity and Iowa fathers an opportunity to help their young children. And I can think of no greater reason than after we had listened to the stories of the parents talk about what they have to go through and the frustrations knowing that there's a possibility to have help. And I watched these young mothers come before our committee and tell our stories, heartful, sincere, fear in their voices, and breaking down and crying over the stress that they have. And the fact that they said that they prayed to God that if they could transfer that problem of their child to them, that they would take the pain. They wanted it to happen to them. You know that's not possible. It's not possible. But this bill makes it possible to give them the help and the hope that they need to help their children. And so Senator Bokum, Senator Snyder, my colleagues on this side and that side of the aisle, we have an opportunity to help the mothers and the fathers of Iowa take care of children that have something unfathomable, a health condition unfathomable to them and their families that we can't really truly understand. I think Senator Yoakum probably knows more than anybody with her child. That we have an opportunity to do something here today that's pretty special. And I want to thank the mothers for coming before us and having the courage to stand up when people were saying, no, this is unacceptable. We need to move forward. And thank you, colleagues in the Senate. We're going to do that today. Thank you.
The chair recognizes a senator from Shelby, Senator Butker.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, my heart goes out to the parents of these children. There's parents of other children whose story is not being told today. We do not control the message on this bill. And I have a headline here that says, Iowa lawmakers approve marijuana oil. I've worked with teens in prevention for a long time. Teens are going to see Iowa approves marijuana oil. This is a story that's not being talked about and told, and even though my heart really goes out to those parents, I want us to consider the story of these other teens all across Iowa who are going to see these headlines that we do not control and get the wrong impression. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry, but I cannot vote for this bill today.
The chair recognizes a senator from Polk, Senator Hatch.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to convey a story that I started in my retirement speech yesterday. I referred to Aaron Todd, our assistant, as Adam Todd. I felt compelled to tell you a little bit about Adam. Adam is the son of good friends of mine in Cedar Rapids, Dale and Sarah Todd, who has epilepsy. Didn't get epilepsy until he was 3 and a half years old, and had dozens and hundreds of seizures. He's now 13 years old, and after many experimental drugs and going to dozens of hospitals and thousands of miles of travel, Adam is on a regimen that is allowing him to be mainstreamed in school. He's running cross-country, but he's under constant care of his mother and father, and he continues to have seizures now once every 6 months. He's not on cannabis oil. He's one of the lucky young children who had parents that had major medical, had the ability to care for his health, and allowed him to struggle through 10 years of experience and experiments. The children that we have talked to and their parents the last couple of weeks are not that lucky. They want to be given a chance. And I can't tell you how much their pain and agony has been transferred into the activism that they have brought forward to us, allowing us to discuss it. Yes, there are concerns on whether or not a drug known for recreational use can have medicinal purposes, but it does. This is drafted so narrowly that it is an opportunity for us to go and work with the community and the parents and giving these kids a chance. Other states have done it. We're not the first, but it doesn't take long to understand that all we're giving these parents is another choice. I want to compliment Senator Bolcom, Senator Schneider, for your undying commitment to a few families, to their children, and I want to thank this body, no matter where you vote today, allowing this to be debated today on the floor of the Senate is so meaningful to this state, as a state that is willing to look at something just a little differently. So I compliment my colleagues. No matter how you vote, we're doing something so very special. And I hope that our colleagues in the House will have that opportunity that we are having today. I want to quickly acknowledge Representative Taylor and Representative Forbes of the House. They too have taken this issue forward and are trying hard to convince people that this is a small step for a lot of children. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, colleagues of the Senate, I rise in support of Senate File 2360, and that wasn't always the case. And I think I owe it to those that I've talked to about this issue why I am now a compassionate yes, where I was a hard no before. Some of you know, perhaps Senator Dotzler better than others here in the chamber, that my family has been affected by drug use and abuse. I have 4 brothers, all of whom had drug abuse issues, all of whom have had trouble with the law, including prison, and a birth father as well. And so